Big breaking story on center stage tonight. The National Investigation Agency has stumbled upon a sinister plot to topple the Shiekh Hasina government in Bangladesh by the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh terrorists hiding in West Bengal. Listen very carefully. The NIA and the Bengal CID have now widened their investigations into the October 2 blast in West Bengal's Burdwan that resulted in the death of two suspected Jamaat terrorists making improvised explosive devices to be smuggled into Bangladesh through the Indo-Bangladesh border. Top sources in the Home Ministry have told Headlines today that Bangladesh has officially informed the Indian government that the two convicted terrorists who escaped are hiding in Bengal, and even shared intelligence inputs about their location in Burdwan and their movement to Dhubri. Sources reveal that the interrogation of the arrested suspects revealed that the aim was to once again carry out a series of blasts across Bangladesh to topple the incumbent Shiekh Hasina government. Dhaka is also carrying out a series of raids to detain elements who may have escaped across the border after the October 2 blast in Burdwan. Joining us on this story is Headlines Today Strategic Affairs Editor Govt Sawant, who's got all these exclusive details from his sources in the NIA. Also with us at this time, Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, one of the most respected voices in foreign affairs. With us also Jaidev Ranade, former Additional Secretary of the Research and Analysis Wing, one of India's foremost counter-terror officials. To Govt Sawant first, this is very significant, Gaurav, and I think that the full import of the story hasn't yet been understood. The fact that the NIA now believes that there were Bangladeshi terrorists on Indian soil in West Bengal trying to hatch a plot to topple the Shiekh Hasina government. What was this plot about? How was it working, Gaurav?
Rahul, what sources in the NIA, in the Ministry of Home Affairs, have told Headlines today that this Burdwan plot was part of a much bigger module. Burdwan was an R&D facility. This particular house where bombs were being made was part of a much larger plot. Some bombs were being made here, some in several other madrasas and other hideouts all along this Indo-Bangladesh belt, and especially along Murshidabad. There's Lal Gola Mosque that's under the scanner. That's the Simulia Madrasa that's under the scanner. There are several madrasas all along this border run by the JMB fronts, Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh. Now in February, there was a prison break in Bangladesh. There was an audacious attack on a prison van. Two terrorists had escaped, including a big bomb maker, Salahuddin Sakin and Zahidul Islam. 23rd of February, they escaped from there. Bangladesh intelligence has alerted India, saying these terrorists and several others, after that massive manhunt against JMB in Bangladesh in the past 2 years, they've been hiding in Bengal. They've given addresses of some suspects, but unfortunately, they claim they haven't got the required
but this is
assistance.
very, very distressing. And we must put this in context for our viewers. When Bangladesh was asked by India for help against Alpha extremists operating out of Bangladeshi soil, against Indian Mujahideen operatives who were based out of Bangladesh, the government in Dhaka went out of its way to help India. Now, the Bangladeshi intelligence agency is giving to the Ministry of Home Affairs specific details, addresses of where their convicted terrorists who escaped from Bangladeshi jails are staying in West Bengal. The Ministry of Home Affairs putting pressure or speaking to the government in West Bengal, and the Trinamool-led government in West Bengal, it is alleged, is not helping enough. I want to put that question to Veena Sikri. Ms. Sikri, now this is a very, very complicated situation. The fact that Bangladesh needs our help, the fact that Bangladesh has helped us over the recent past, nab several terrorists. The IM and the Alpha are far weaker now in Bangladesh than ever before in recent memory. And when Bangladesh needs our help, India is not being able to provide the help that is required. What are you making of what Gaurav is breaking tonight?
I think the most important outcome of what is happening, what happened in Burdwan and the follow-up, is that India and Bangladesh need to work together to identify this menace of the Jamaatul Mujahideen.
Let me put a question also to Jaidev Ranade. Mr. Ranade, as an intelligence official, what are you making of this development that emerges that shows that investigations are being crippled by politics. The fact that the West Bengal government wants to somehow not be seen as being anti-minority and is then being perceived as not clamping down hard enough on the terrorists who are operating on West Bengal soil, Mr. Ranade.
Well, it's unfortunate, but I think the centre has moved very quickly by sending in the NIA team, and they have uncovered quite a lot of data. I think there will be pressure, and they would be able to, cooperate and get the results that the Bangladesh government wants. But having said that, let me also say that there are a lot of colorations that are given during investigations of terror, and as far as these linkages are concerned between people residing either in Bangladesh or in West Bengal, they have been going on for quite some time, facilitated by the fact that the borders are porous.
Okay, Veena Sikri, I'm sorry we lost that link with you while you were making your comment. Can you complete the point that you were making? Okay, I'm told that link has gone off again. We'll set it right in just a moment. But Gaurav, now that the Modi government has got involved, now that the NIA has been roped in and pressure is being made to bear on the West Bengal government, what are we hearing back? Is the West Bengal government now cooperating to the extent required?
Initially, no, but after 65 bombs were discovered and several bags of explosives were discovered from the Simulia Madarsa, after the CID in Bengal had already carried out a probe and found nothing, that's the time that the Mamata Banerjee government was told in no uncertain terms that the police need to help. This is a national issue and terrorists don't belong to any one country, religion or place. Terrorists need to be weeded out. After that, my sources are telling me that CID in Bengal is cooperating and the NIA has to operate along with the CID because there are several madrasas. There are thousands and thousands of homes in these villages across the porous border where explosives could be held. Now this is extremely sinister because this plot has wider ramifications.
No, but just one second, and I have this question for Jaidev Ranade. How is it that all these terrorists are sneaking into Indian soil? Now this happens in Pakistan, where you've got terrorists operating in camps along the Pakistan occupied Kashmir front. Now it happens in Nepal, it's happened in Bangladesh. Now you're telling us it's happening in India, that you got these Bangladeshi terrorists running away, convicted terrorists running away from Bangladeshi prisons, setting up base in India. How is the border so porous? How are they able to come in?
Well, there are two aspects to this. One is that on the Bangladesh side, along the India-Bangladesh border, there are a large number of madrasas and mosques which are de facto controlled by the Jamaat and the Jamaat groups. In fact, there is intense rivalry between the Jamaat and the Awami Leaguers at the village level in these areas. Second, a large number of these Jamaat activists do crisscross into the border with India and back. Because of the porous borders, there are a large number of people crossing over and they build up linkages on our side. The third thing is, when these convicted people do manage to escape from Bangladesh and come over here, I wouldn't call them bases, but I would say that they have created little safe havens where they do go and where they are covered up by the local populace. But I think after the recent incidents, there will be a clampdown on this kind of development taking place.
Gaurav, a lot of them also seem to be women. It's women who are being brought into these madrasas. They are being trained. What's the modus operandi behind training all these women?
Rahul, as Jaidev Ranade was rightly pointing out, this is a very sinister plot that has been underway for several years. The Jamaat, with its control in this entire border belt, this particular madrasa in Simulia only recruited women, only educated women. Why? They picked up destitute young girls, they picked up the fourth and the fifth daughter of poor parents that the parents could not look after and were very happy to let them go to a madrasa. Here these girls were indoctrinated. Bangladeshi men would sneak in, according to my sources in the MHA, they would marry these girls, and this has been happening for several years. So the young women are being indoctrinated, the aim being the next generation will automatically get indoctrinated. In this particular case, after the blast took place, both Gulshana Bibi and Alima Bibi, what they did was they held the police at gunpoint for several hours. Even as one of their husbands had just died in a blast, the woman actually held the police at gunpoint, was trying to clean up that place and was trying to destroy evidence. So they are indoctrinated to that extent, and not just in one madarsa, but several madarsas that are now under the scanner.
Okay.
If the CID and the NIA
Let me see if we can establish contact with Veena Sikri. We're having some problems with that connection with Ms. Sikri. Please explain the diplomatic problems involved here when the West Bengal government is not fully cooperating in what is a very big problem for the Bangladesh government.
I think that the West Bengal government has to be brought on board. This is a central issue, the borders being porous. The question of illegal migration from Bangladesh to India comes to the forefront here because it is that porous border which is allowing migrants to move freely across the border. The BSF is unable to stop them. The state government gives them shelter. They get their papers, and that's how they establish these madrasas. I understand that land in the bordering areas in West Bengal are selling at exorbitant prices because they are in demand by the militants. The JMB, the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, is an organization which grew out of the Taliban years in Afghanistan. The leader of this organization, who was subsequently executed, was called Banglabai. He was working in Afghanistan. When 9/11 happened, he came back to Bangladesh and activated this group. They want a Sharia law in Bangladesh. They reject democracy, they reject socialism, they want a completely Sharia system in Bangladesh, and the presence of this group's activities in different parts of India have been established.
It seems very clearly, Ms. Sikri, that India is so obsessed with terrorists operating out of Pakistani soil that you've got as potent a danger on your east, and it's virtually unnoticed by a large majority of our country. Now explain, the NIA sources are telling Gaurav that there was a plot to topple the Shiekh Hasina government. That's how serious they believe this threat really was. As a diplomat, as someone who understands the area very well, how seriously would you take the threat of these terrorists operating out of West Bengal?
I would take this threat very seriously because this group, they want to topple any democratic government. In fact, when I was in Bangladesh as the High Commissioner, this group's activities came to the fore, and the Jamaat-e-Islami, which was a member of the government of Khaleda Zia, they denied the existence of this group. They called it a figment of the media's imagination. But later on, this group was arrested when there was a huge public outcry, and they were found to be in protection of the intelligence agencies of the Khaleda Zia government. So this group is definitely against a secular democratic government like Sheikh Hasina. I think the threat should be taken very seriously. Government of India and Government of Bangladesh have to put their intelligence services together and use every means possible to work together, have joint operations to root out this terror on both sides of the border. We must understand that many of these people have Indian voter cards, and they vote on both sides of the border in elections in India and in Bangladesh. They are present in Assam, they are present in West Bengal, and they are present in a number of other states of India.
I think because people are not understanding the import of this threat, the significance of the challenge that is posed by these terrorists operating out of West Bengal, the story is not getting enough play, and that's what we're trying to change. Ensure that we put out the details, ensure that people understand the real and present danger that confronts India and South Asia and our friend Bangladesh. Remember, we've had hostile governments in Bangladesh in the past. This government is different. They've helped us, and it is incumbent on Delhi to help Dhaka when it needs our help. Let's hope that politics does not derail good sense. Terrorism needs to be vanquished. It cannot be derailed at the altar of politics. Veena Sikri, Jaidev Ranade, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks also to Gaurav. Gaurav, you must keep chasing the story and track every detail very, very closely.